wage gap's a myth.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this.
The wage gap is a concept that relies solely on the fact that men and women make the exact same choices in life, but women are just victims and get our money taken away from us. Well, thankfully, that's a load of bullshit. If you're not familiar with the wage gap, it is the fact that women earn 78.3% of what men earn, or 78 cents to the dollar. This statistic was created by comparing all women who are working a full-time job's earnings as compared to all men who are working a full-time job's earnings. This statistic does not account for hours worked, overtime, promotions, days off, the job acquired, and how long these people have been in that certain job. This should raise a couple of red flags for people and, the legitimacy of it. And, maybe make you think, oh, so it's not about discrimination, it's about, personal choices. Well, oddly enough, it didn't raise too many red flags for plenty of our politicians in our society.
Over the course of her career, a working woman with a college degree will earn, on average, hundreds of thousands of dollars less than a man who does the same work. That's wrong.
Yes, sadly, this isn't just some extremists' leftists' ideas. People like our previous president of the United States believed in this, and almost every single university teacher believes in this, and every single teacher in general believes in this. And although plenty of people have explained how the wage gap doesn't exist, a lot of them were probably white males, so it's likely feminists won't take them seriously. But don't worry, I'm a orange-white female, and that may not help too much, but here we go. The first part, and probably most prominent part of why the wage gap exists, is the job choices between men and women. I'm going to look at some of the highest money-making jobs we have in the American market, as well as a couple of examples of average-paying jobs men and women both choose, and you're going to see the large differences in choices between the sexes. So let's take a look at doctors. And although I got this chart from a website making fun of my beliefs the wage gap is a myth, it helps prove my point. Ever since 1963, women have been legally required to be paid equally to men for the same work. However, women still choose different paths than men, and the reason the wage gap appears to be closing is because more and more women are choosing to become parts of a higher-paying field. Although the weird way this chart is made, it makes it look like women almost completely take over the field. But it is based off of 40% of the workforce of doctors, not 100% of the workforce. And not even a nice big 50%. So yes, women still don't even make up half the population of doctors, one of the highest paying jobs in America. So yes, women still don't make up even half the population of doctors, only 32%. And you may be thinking, well, 32% is still a lot, which is true compared to the 6% previously shown. However, this is accounting for all types of physicians. No, not all doctors get paid exactly the same. There are heart surgeons, pediatricians, physical therapists, brain therapists, yada yada yada. According to the AMA Wire, female doctors tend to take up fields of family medicine, $190,000 a year, psychiatry, $211,000 annually, pediatrics earning them $180,000, and gynecology giving them about $264,000 a year. While these do pay quite a bit more than the average American's income, they are nowhere close to the earnings of the male-dominated doctor's field. Males tend to work in surgery, giving them about $360,000 a year, emergency medicine, $260,000 a year, anesthesiology, $350,000, radiology, $380,000 a year, and internal medicine with about $200,000 a year. And no, it's not because of the patriarchy forcing women to go into the lower paying jobs. There are still male pediatricians and female radiologists. People are indeed allowed to go into the less majority field. Females aren't not allowed to be radiologists and not allowed to be anesthesiologists. It's simply the sexes having different desires, generally speaking. Maybe you're much better at math than I am, and you can say, this only explains a little percentage of the wage gap. Well, I'm very aware of that because there's still a lot of factors that add up to make the wage gap exist to people who really want to be victims. Or you're just like me a couple of years ago and blindly believed what a teacher told me. Now, I won't take too long to explain this, but in general, women work care and office jobs, and men work more construction and technical jobs. Elementary and kindergarten teaching is mainly done by females. This form of teaching is extremely low paying and sometimes even gives you an annual salary below the poverty line, whereas jobs as mechanics and engineers are in high demand and are paid with fluctuating wages. I am currently working in a male-dominated field. Me and my boss are the only females working at the establishment as of now. My mother is going into a largely male-dominated field. There's nothing wrong with it, but what I do, which is a lot of physical labor, getting extremely dirty, screaming at people in the hot sun with a mask on that heats up my face for 10 hours a day, isn't something that's normally desired by most females. It's desired by me, though, and I mean, I love it. And same goes for construction and other physical jobs. It simply is not a popular choice for females, so therefore when it is averaged out, it seems as though women may be discriminated against because there's not as many that are doing that. But it's not discrimination, it's simply choice. Now, job choice itself is not the only factor contributing to the idea of the wage gap, but as according to the Department of Labor's Time Use Survey, the average full working man spends around 8.14 hours a day on the job, whereas a full-time working woman spends about 7.75 hours a day on the job. This leads to about a 5% difference in the hours worked on average and explains about 1/4 of the wage gap. And before you get up and badgering towards me, even if you are a female and you say you may have worked more hours than a certain male coworker, this is an average, so please just, calm the shit down. Your personal experiences do not account for the average of all human beings. We're aware that I'm sure some of you do exist, but this is the average. Averages don't give a shit about your feelings. Another factor of the wage gap is that women tend to do this thing called giving birth, it happens occasionally. And you don't need to scream at me and tell me not all women have children, because I am very much so aware. According to Professors Lawrence Kahn and Francine Blau, nearly 1/3 of the wage gap is caused by the amount of leave women take off for maternity purposes. And when I'm discussing the topic of motherhood, dealing with the wage gap, I'm not just discussing a couple of months break from maternity leave. I'm discussing the various variables in becoming a mother and choices made by these females who do decide to have children. If you take a look here, you will see various choices made by mothers and fathers when they become, mothers and fathers. In every single scenario represented by this graph, females are more likely to take time off or quit their job, etc. This adds up to making them look like they get less money on average, because they tend to take more time off for taking care of their kids, they deny promotions, they quit their job, they reduce their time significantly working there, etc. Now, plenty of politicians claim that it's time we close the wage gap. Well, I reply with, the only way you're going to do that is you either force women against their will to go into higher paying jobs they don't want to be in, force men to go into lower paying jobs that they don't want to be in, likely resulting in shitty products due to people working in fields they don't care too much about, or start paying people just based on their gender. Sure, Bob works 50 hours a week and went to college for 8 years to become a radiologist and earns $400,000 a year, but Molly works a 35-hour week as a pastry chef and also went to college. Sure, she only went for 3 months, but she only earns $45,000 a year. Molly also needs to be paid $400,000 because she's a woman. All women need to be paid $400,000. We must discriminate on the basis of sex to pay people, but we need to make their pay looks even. So let's just give women a bunch of money for no reason to even it out and stuff, because this isn't sexist at all. Woohoo! Yes, just discriminate on the basis of sex, even though that's against the law. I'm really hoping that people arguing for the wage gap are aware that there was an act passed in 1963. Thank you, Lily Ledbetter. I'm sorry that there are people in this world that just completely ignore all of the work you did, and just completely stomp on you and kick you in the fucking face. I'm so happy that we don't have to worry about this absolute bullshit, and I'm sorry about the absolute bullshit you had to go through in order to fix this. There are laws and regulations that will greatly punish a company who decides to discriminate on sex or race or whatever. I don't want people to be able to discriminate against their workers and say, you're a woman, you get paid less. And same goes for the other way around. I don't want men to be discriminated against and be given less money for equal work just because someone who doesn't understand statistics or is just extremely excited to be called a victim thinks that the wage gap exists and affects us. Maybe you'll say something around the lines of, yeah, but they did it to women at some point in time. That's no excuse to do it to men. We actually want equality here, and calling for inequality in order to make statistics seem more fair is sickening to me. I hope that I have convinced someone else to understand why these averages exist and make it appear as though women are being discriminated against. And even if you already somewhat understood about it, maybe even if you somewhat understood it, maybe you learned something new. Either way, have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, and I hope I educated you.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean.
It's like taking every single Rice Krispie and comparing it. I don't know where I'm going with this, actually. I'm backing out of this metaphor.